Again, I sound like a game show host. I do this every time. Welcome to Project Woman TV. My name's Faye, founder of 9 to 5 Menopause. Project Woman TV, a place where we talk about anything and get women thinking about themselves, really, and getting to make new choices. We have got an amazing guest, which I am very, very excited about. But I'll pass you over to my lovely co-host, Abby, who will introduce her.
Well, thank you so much, Faye, and welcome you gorgeous humans to another great conversation. My name is Abby Adams. I am a female health lover. I just love women living their greatest lives and feeling good about their bodies. I was going to go into a little bit of a conversation about just a recent conversation, but that would be just bigging up my ego. So I'll pass over that and we'll talk about it later. But should we talk about it now? In regards to, I just want to put it out there. Social media is an absolute. It's a mind fuck. Let's be honest with you. Yeah, we can see great things, we can see good things, we can see not so good things, and we can see awful things. But when you read something, really read it and really see: are you looking at it from what you want to see? Or are you seeing it for what it actually is? Because I've just had a conversation where a post that I put out there came from a really heartfelt place of wanting to empower people, wanting to support people, and wanted them to have greater choices. And it kind of got read in a wrong, it got read in a wrong way. We can all have those moments. You know, we can all feel like the world is against us. But this is so important to understand when it comes to female health. This is what's happened time and time again. We have been made to feel bad about what our bodies are doing, when in fact, our bodies are trying to sort out all of the shit that's going on around us. So please be mindful. There are so many people out there, including our guests, that want to hear what's going on. And we want to support you, but we want to support you to feel greater. We don't want to support those emotions that make you feel like you're not welcome and see you just taking really great choices. A woman to that. Thank you, Geeta, for letting me say that. So
you're very welcome.
Back. Right. So here we go. I'm welcoming the amazing Geeta Sidhu-Robb, who is an activist of many things, but I've known her for female health, and she's the CEO of Nosh Detox. Geeta, welcome, my darling. It is awesome to have you here. How are you?
I'm super happy to be here. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
Well, and the fact that you've just flown back from Texas, why, you know, living the high life, sharing your high vibes with the world. I love it.
I know someone's got to do it, right? So I thought I'll do it.
I've got to take the world on. I've got to take it on. So, Geeta, I looked through. By the way, please check out Geeta's TikTok, because it is a hive of wonderful information, and the way that she communicates it is awesome.
Words that no one ever thought would be said about me. I just keep lying to the kids. I'm like, no, I'm not on TikTok. No, of course not.
And what about mum? What do you say to mum?
Oh, no, I'm not introducing mommy to TikTok. I got her on, she's 89. I put her on Instagram. My life's never been the same. She goes and comments on all my posts, and which is nice. It's my mother. I'm like, no, TikTok doesn't exist. She goes, let me talk to me.
I love mum. So coming back to TikTok, I was on there looking through this wonderful content, and the one that really caught my eye was he was talking about perimenopause, and she mentioned the mad, the sad, and the bad. Geeta, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's funny actually, because before we started talking, I was saying that I got given this these cards, which is the Cosmic Journey Oracle. And in a moment of deep, synchronicity, I pulled a card for today, and here's what it says.
You cannot pour from an empty cup. You
cannot pour from an empty cup. And it's exactly what we were just saying. The thing is that women are socialized to be good. We're socialized for approval. We're socialized to be nice. We're socialized to agree. And this is done to us very consciously, because if women didn't do those things, the world wouldn't function. It literally wouldn't function. So from a very young age, women are co-opted into making other women behave in a particular way. And that's kind of what we do, right? Like the people that do female genital mutilation are the women That's not the men that do it, it's the women that do it. And why do we do this? Is because you have to see a synchronicity of biases. And we're biased in our inherited cultural format, and then we're biased in societal formats. Those two come in, and it's a pincer movement to catch us in the middle. And so even if you get rid of one bias, you don't get rid of the other bias. So how many times have we said to ourselves, why do I keep working on this shit? It's the same shit I have to work on again and again and again. And so because that's set up, because the universe loves us because she's female, and she's like, y'all are going to need some friggin' help. You're just going to need help. What she does is she says, let's hit 35, 40 and go, boom, perimenopause comes and whacks you across the face, like properly slaps you across the face. And it says, listen, bitch, you are going to be constantly mad, bad, and sad until you work out what it is you need, how you need it, when you want it, and how to give it to yourself.
Yes. Sorry.
And if you don't do those things, you are going to continue to be mad, bad, and sad till you work that shit out. Finished. That's the beginning and the end of the whole story. Now, the reason this happens is because we do not know how to look after ourselves. We don't know what we want. We don't know how we want it. We don't know when we want it. We're shit at it. I'm a product of an upper class, wealthy Indian family. And I remember my best friend saying to me, what do you want to eat? And I was like, is that a trick question? Because food was put on the table and you ate the frigging food that was on the table. What do you mean? What do you want to eat? I don't know. Oh my God. What? Now, if you can't even choose what you want to eat, how are you going to choose what to do with your body? How are you going to choose to respect and honor and love yourself? Because you don't know how. You literally don't have the brain physiology set up. There are no pathways in your neurological pathways that say me, want, have. None. Particularly if you're attached to a vagina. None. Let me tell you, can I say that again? None. You do not know how to have what you want because you don't know what the fuck that is because no one ever asked you, and it is in nobody's interests for you to want something and then get it. Who are you going to help if you get what you want? You're going to stop working. You stop running the house, stop running around after the kids, stop having so many kids. Like, oh, the birth rate's on the decline. No frigging shit, is it? You think? Oh, imagine. Do you know what I mean? So this is the core of where this comes from. And perimenopause puts its foot on the back of your neck and won't let it up till you start paying attention. That's why it lasts so long. And that's why menopause is easier than perimenopause. Perimenopause, the bottom falls out of your head and your heart. You can't. I'm a speaker, public speaker. I have stood up on stage and I have not remembered the word I said before. Not remembered it. Do you know how friggin' frightening that is? I put on weight that I had wardrobes of clothes, nothing fit me. I couldn't cope with migraines. Let me tell you. I mean, if I wanted sex, I'd phone you. Let me phone you. I'll friggin' send you a telegram by snail mail. Don't come near me. Your whole life just doesn't function. It's the single biggest metabolic upheaval that happens to you. But babes, it's happening to you because you are loved. It's happening because the universe is supporting you. It's happening to you because it's the only way to get through perimenopause mentally sane is to work out what you need and what your body needs.
Oh my God. I mean, someone write that down. Thank goodness we're recording. Geeta.
Yes, dear.
How do you, I feel, you want to lean in like Geeta.
Where's that drink?
Yeah, I know, exactly. Have you come up against women that don't believe they're going through perimenopause? And they're giving all of the symptoms, like they've got all of the symptoms and they just can't accept it. And yet they're mad, they're bad, and they're everything else in between.
Sad.
Thank you. That's why we work together.
The thing I will say to this is that what I see a lot is women going, I'm in perimenopause and no one believes me. I've gone to my doctor doesn't believe me. I'm in perimenopause, I'm going mad, nobody can help me. If you look at the comments on my TikTok, they are heart-wrenching. Again and again, women going, I knew this about me. No one believed me. I feel like I ran a marathon. And let me assure you, I never fucking did any of that sort. There are women again and again. The gender health bias was something I didn't even understand until I started TikTok. And so for what happened to me is that I went into early perimenopause and thought, I'm too young. I want another baby. So I kind of reversed it for myself. And then I last year got long COVID. And during the process, the first time I got COVID was at the end of January. And during that process, I went whack straight back into early perimenopause. So everything that went with perimenopause came and hit me in about 6 weeks after I got COVID. Everything. It was, so I went on TikTok and I was like, hello, I have perimenopause from long COVID. Does anybody else have that? 22,000 women went, hell yeah.
Wow.
Like, hi guys, I'll just tell you how I'm dying and then you can tell me how you're Women are treated like they have no brain. They are treated like they don't understand their bodies. They are treated like they don't understand their symptoms. A woman wrote to me and she said, because I've always focused in weight loss as a detox health and wellness business. And she said, I have eaten 800 calories for a whole year and a half. And I kept a food diary for a year and a half. And I went to my doctor and said, I have not lost weight. And you told me to do calorie deficit. And he goes, you know, you just don't know how to count. Let me tell you, she was told one of my videos on TikTok has 1.8 million views. There is a war that is happening between the young son, a 24-year-old son of a woman, and all my male trolls. When I say calorie deficit doesn't work, intermittent fasting doesn't work, they were like, how dare you, let's string the bitch up by the short and curlies. No, they followed me around all my social media platforms to attack me. Because TikTok wouldn't let them, because TikTok women were like, go screw yourself. So they went to the other ones. And this 24-year-old boy said, this is exactly what is happening to my mother. This is happening to my mother. And they're like, oh, rubbish. Your mother just eats when you're not looking. He said, I live with my mother. How can you tell me what my mother does more than I know? And it's the most interesting thing. Those fights are because women just don't know how to represent themselves in the true sense, because no one gives a shit. No one listens, no one's believing. And there is a massive gender health gap problem in this thing. When I go out and I find science in terms of perimenopause to support the things I'm saying, which, for example, we talk about stress fat, right? I'll let you talk in a minute. I'm just ranting at you.
No, it's fine. Me and Faye are like, our ears are like this.
We go in.
We talk about, I coined a phrase called stress fat because I'm like, don't frigging diet. Don't diet. It's stress fat, because what we do is we tell you to calorie deficit, intermittent fast. Guys, shut the fudge up. I get to 35 to 40, and the minute I do that, I put on weight. I literally put on weight. So I called it stress fat because that is exactly what it is. It is fat that comes from stress. You cannot diet away stress fat. You cannot eat less for stress fat. You can't exercise away stress fat. And no frigging medical doctor or man in the world understands it, because the fuckers don't get stress fat. It's an estrogenic based problem. So they were like, you're just full of shit. You don't. I was like, really? Watch this. So because I've been a lawyer my whole life, I went and I got all the science. But the thing is, the science took me hours and days of research to find it, because none of it is put together by someone who cares about women, because nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. And that's the problem. So I don't think we can blame women for this one.
No, but can we blame women for any of it? I mean, you know, we were speaking beforehand about this, the post that I put out there, which was about trying to help women. You can never get it right. You're never going to please everyone. I totally get that. But the emotional armor that we've got on, that makes us feel that whenever this subject is broached in whatever area that it is that it's your fault. This is like dangerous territory. Do you know what I mean? Because how can you ever get out of that when someone says something or someone tries to support you and you go on the defensive, you go on that, like, and you end up pushing away what could ultimately help you.
I think I would say it's the lack of awareness. Going back to what Geeta said, it's just like, we don't know these things. We don't know what we want. And they're lashing out because ultimately they don't know what they want. They don't know what's good for them. It's like,
and also they don't have any other support, so they don't believe you're there to support them.
Yeah.
Well, they think you're a bit of a know-it-all, basically. Whereas you're coming from a really good, genuine place. They are lashing out because they've been through so much, and that's their instinct, as if to say, well, what do you know?
Well, so then there's a challenge, Abby. Why not rewrite that post so that it's so beyond apparent it's supportive, and then repost it, see what happens.
Yeah, good point.
I say the same shit 12 different times on a daily basis. Don't feel free to join in.
But lashing out, Geeta, I'm interested in what you just said then about the opposite sex getting involved, because I mean, I know, like Faye knows, most of us know, a calorie deficit means absolutely nothing other than pure unhappiness, unhealthiness, and almost abuse, to be fair. I've known
it's an eating disorder that's given, that's certified by someone.
And I've heard of, menopausal women, perimenopausal women, menopausal women thinking, right, now I want to get into the gym, I want to change things, I'm putting on weight, and they're told that it's all about going harder and faster and no pain and no gain. And I'm like, no, there is a greater way. But we've become so accustomed to this, we have to suffer. We've got to suffer to get
through pain. Growth through pain is the bane of my life. Why do we grow through pain? Let's grow through orgasms. Let's grow through friggin' tequila or some shit. Why do you need to grow through pain? If you can learn to grow through pain, you can learn to grow through joy.
Absolutely. And what was our words that you shared with last time when we spoke on your podcast? Was it lush? Lush. What a word.
Lush.
What a great word.
Lush.
I'm in the phase of getting into my lush femininity.
I love that. The lush feminine.
Say it. No. Both of you go. I'm a lush woman. Just see how it feels.
And I
want to grab my breast when I do it.
But apart from the fact, a lush used to mean an all-nighter, basically. You dirty lush. But I'm happy with that.
We're turning it around now. We're turning it around. Was it lush?
Lush woman. Yeah, I feel lush, and I'm a lush woman. Isn't that great? See, look. It's in your body.
Isn't it? You feel like your sass is coming out. Bloody love it.
Yeah.
So talk to us more about this stress fat. And was this you came across this from your own experience?
Well, no, I came across it because when I set up Nosh Detox, so I've worked with about 21,000 women over the course of the last 15 odd years. And with these beautiful, so I started off with a lot of celebrities by mistake. I didn't know any of them. They came in the door and we were the only company there. And they would come in and these beautiful, exquisite, skinny little women would walk in and they'd say, I need to lose more weight. And I'd be like, we can cut your hair because I'm not sure where the nails, I'll cut your nails too. I'm not sure where else we're going to lose weight from, but I'm willing to do that. And they would be like, no, I've got to. And then I would, put them on a juice fast. Then they go in, then they come back. And we literally were the first detox company in this country. And we were the first for a long time. So they had nowhere to go but to come to us. And these women were more famous, more accomplished, more successful than the one before them. And I was like, what the actual hell is going on? And so there was one who was very famous, household name. And she kept coming in and I'm like, okay, can we sit and talk? So we talked about it. And I'm like, why is it that you have to keep coming back? And she goes, I don't feel good when I'm not doing this. And then we sat down and broke it open. And it turned out that she was really angry because she was come from this literally household name global business. And of all her generation, she was the only girl. All the other cousins were boys. And they were all put on the board and she wasn't. Now, of course, that's going to piss you the fuck off. You're not fat, you're angry. Like, give the woman an Uzi and get out the way, right? That's what her problem is. So I was like, well, why don't we just work out how to get you on the board? And then it took us 9 months to get her on the board. And her health issues were no longer there because she wasn't angry. So that's where it came from. So then I was looking at these women, and then we got a lot of, like, the Holocaust of St. Trinians had to be naked and they walked in. And so, and then I worked with cancer patients for 5 years, people who were going to die. So you went from one extreme to the other. And it was like, what's the emotion behind cancer? And they were coming in and they had a month to, when you're talking to somebody who has a month to live, and somebody who has 6 months to live, and you're talking to them again and again and again and again, it does make you deeply frivolous on some deep levels, I have to assure you, because you're just faced with death and somebody else's death. And it would be like, I would have an hour to help them to see the thing that was blocking them, and I realized that it was an emotional thing that was blocking them. It wasn't the physical. And so that was when I realized mindset. Nobody was telling us this. You have to remember, I've been doing this a really long time. Nobody said any of this shit. And so it was layered on top of everything. And then I was like, what if these women who think they're fat also have this emotional stuff? And so when I would coach them, they would kind of shrink. They wouldn't get lighter or weight, because I tell people not to weigh themselves, but they got thinner. And as they dumped this stress, their body didn't need to hold on to it, because cortisol is the equivalent of having an ambulance go down the middle of your high street constantly with sirens blaring. It's the same equivalent in your body. So I realized that actually what was happening was that when I helped them shift their mindset, they would then lose weight. Because there is no mindset component in calorie deficit, yo. There's also no mindset component in intermittent fasting, bruh. There's none. Do you know what I mean? And hit it, bish. All that shit. None of that has got mindset attached to it. Because, the size of my penis, yabs. Really, really, what do I do? Me, I'm a woman. Okay. I have, when I came to this country, because I'm not from here, I used to think that we had a really hard time because the women in the West kind of knew what they wanted, and Indian women were, and I'm an Indian from Africa, so we were brought up knowing the enemy. You were second class. You could look at power, you could marry power, you could sleep with power, you give birth to power, but you couldn't touch it because it wasn't yours. And so we knew the enemy. We could see the enemy. I'm supposed to be second class. I was born to be second class, and watch me fight this. So I thought in the West there was this amazing freedom, only to sit with a whole bunch of Western women and go, y'all are in the same shit we're in, just no one tells you it's happening. And so what happens is that out here, we're just screwed, but we're told we're having a good time. We're like, no, of course you like it. Yeah, you really did. Honest, it was fun for you. And you're like, really? Didn't feel like it. And then we've morphed into these women that before you'd have a baby and someone would help you look after it. Today, you have to have the baby on your own. You have to pay the bills for the baby. You have to look after the baby. You have to do it all on your own. And we're supposed to be having the time of our lives. And there's like, what is actually happening here? There's a place here. This isn't working. And we are struggling under quite a massive amount of overwhelm. And if I took away the word overwhelm and I told you trauma instead, the trauma of loneliness, the trauma of isolation, the trauma of being ignored, the trauma of being voiceless, the trauma of not mattering, then it's not so hard to understand, is it?
Oh my goodness. And I think this is, we hear this so often now. We hear this of people that are feeling so isolated and alone. And we see, the suicide rates are going up in both men and women. I mean, what is going on? But I read the other day that the suicide rate in men above 50 has gone up. And we was just talking and they said, will they retire? I said, well, no, they don't. Not now. You work until you're in your 60s. So they're not retired. I said, but I'm just curious as to whether the generation that is following them, they're so into their tech. This is not like the old days where there was banter, where you would go down the pub at lunchtime, where you would converse with people, because everyone is so into these things that we are currently communicating.
But we're having a conversation. So if you think about it, we're still conversing. We're just not necessarily doing it in the pub sitting next to each other.
But I'm just wondering what the office is like now. I mean, how different that is and how accessible conversation really is.
I think that's a good thing. I think the more that we can not have a conversation with half the friggin' patriarchy, the easier it would be to tear them down, surely. Then you can't talk to me and I can ignore you, the crap out of you.
But also, I think as someone that's not in the office, like I work from home the majority of the time, I find it better. I feel like it's given me my life back. Like the commute and being in the office, and as you say, chatting banal shit around the water machine. I'm like, I'm not upset I'm not seeing those people. I really not. I prefer, I just feel like I've got more of a life. And it's like more, I wouldn't even use the word equal balance, but it's definitely, I feel like I'm living more. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm living more.
I love that.
I don't know, when I look back, when I worked up in Mayfair, I mean, I made best friends in the office and we just have such a laugh. It was absolutely hysterical. Like, girls, we'd go out, you go for a coffee, you go out after work, you chat, you'd go into the toilet and talk about everyone that you didn't like in the office.
Well, that still happens.
Right. And,
I think you're not doing that, babe. You're just doing it with mothers from school or something instead.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose I am. But I never forget when I was looking to leave the office and I walked in one day and everyone was like, "Morning, Ab. Hi, Ab. How's it going, Ab?" And I was like, "Everybody knows your name." Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
I feel like a rock star. How can I leave this? But it was time to go. But it's, again, time of life, isn't it? I was talking to another girl who oddly did know each other, but we both worked for the same property company in Mayfair at different times. And it was exactly the same thing. She got to a point where she had her family and it just wasn't working. She couldn't have work and her child. They did not support each other. And it wasn't that the work was to blame. They were just in such a habit that they needed someone at that time that it wasn't working out, and she ended up having to leave. But again, we come back to, and I don't want to keep banging on the patriarch's door, because I'll be honest with you, it just gets me angry, and I want to look forwards now. I want to create change. I don't want to be the victim anymore, and I don't want any woman to be a victim anymore. And this is where I think we need to understand our confidence. And this is what I mean. Like, what's your views on making female health an inclusive conversation, to actually welcome men to these conversations and get them involved? What do you think about that, Geeta?
I got distracted because I was thinking I'm only submissive in bed. But yeah, distracted me slightly because I was like, But that was fun. You know what? Let's expand the conversation a little bit, because when you are, like, I'm a single parent. I've been a single parent since my 20s when I had my first child. I have 3 children. I have been always the breadwinner. I have always, because I was left with nothing. My parents, my mother turned her back on us because my mother was like, well, if you're not going to be married, I'm not going to help you, which seems really stupid, frankly, but there we are. And so I never had, and I think many, many women don't have the option of, can I work or can I not work? I think what we have to do is work. I am very clear about the amount of money that I need and how focused I am on getting it. So I come from a slightly different place, which is that it wasn't a luxury for me. It was 100% a necessity, or we didn't eat, we didn't have clothes or shoes or somewhere to live or anything, because my other option was to marry yet another man, which I was like, we're just not frigging doing that one. We're doing this one. So I then had to come into a place, and this is something that matters to me immensely, that if I have to be the person that does everything for everyone, and is everything for everyone in my life, how is my mental health going to be important? How is my physical health going to be important? How do I give a shit about who I am and what I am? Because I'm not important when I'm constantly in service to the children and to the life and to the living, you know? And so I think that that's really important for us to understand, that if you want to bring a man into the conversation, you can, but I think you can only bring him into the conversation when I know what the hell the conversation is about. When you bring him in earlier, then the conversation gets sidetracked to shit that I'm not interested in, because you have a different life to me. Like my ex is literally my most recent ex, and I've had no children with him, which is why I love him, and I never married him, so I still love him. And he is very, you know, he's white European man, and he will say things and I'll be like, babe, that's because you're a white man. Honestly, it's just because you're a white man and you have no understanding of what this shit is all about. And he'll be like, da 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 da. And I'm like, now you're white mansplaining, because it's not even mansplaining, it's white mansplaining. And at which point I'm like, go in the corner, because you're just annoying the shit out of me. Literally go in the corner. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly. So you can bring men into a conversation, but babe, what's the parameters of that conversation? How do I know I'll be heard? When I can't hear me and I can't hear what I want, how am I hearing what someone else wants?
I just feel like I've been shot.
I actually have started writing a course called Unlearning Womanhood. And I think I'm actually going to write this course because I was writing out the parameters of it. And I think it's just something we have to do. We have to unlearn womanhood, you know, because womanhood as we know it sucks balls. Well, it was created by balls, so it should suck balls, but it's just bad. It's bad. It's a lack of trust for other women, which is what you were saying. It's a lack, it's being the victim. It's bonding in our pain. Fuck you and your pain. Like, I don't want to sit next to another woman who goes, yeah, I too was beaten up. Oh, shoot me. How about I killed it and did really well? Let's connect there. You know, but womanhood and our learned womanhood comes from this passivity of what's left over when we've been given, when we've given everything we can give. Then what's left over is our womanhood. That's not good enough.
I'm dumbstruck. You've just a face, not even saying anything. I just want to repeat the conversation. Like, how can you invite a man in when you can't even hear yourself? Can we hashtag that? That needs to be hashtagged.
Geeta, how are you aware of how powerful you are and your words? And I mean that as a compliment, because sorry.
Yes, actually, no, but Faye, I am a very careful construct. I'm a curated construct of what I want and who I want to be. I have spent 15 years understanding what makes women work because I needed to understand it. Because I used to laugh and say I have doormat tattooed up my ass. And that if you ever wanted to walk all over me, I would lie down and point the way. And I trained myself from being out of this marriage where I was living in a 10 million pound house to being homeless and I was like, I will make it myself. Every step of the way, I had to fight the good girl. And 2019, I made a promise to myself that every time I spoke publicly, I would say the following words. I'm a very powerful woman, and I really like that about myself.
Oh my God. Sorry. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So I would like to invite the two of you separately to say that. Let's start with you, Faye, because you look gobsmacked.
Yeah.
I'm a very powerful woman, and I really like that about myself.
I'm a very powerful woman, and I really like that about myself.
Okay, uncross your ankles.
Sorry?
Uncross your ankles if they're crossed.
What the fuck?
Say it again.
I'm a very powerful woman, and I really like that about myself.
And once more.
I'm a very powerful woman, and I really like that about myself.
It's like clothing that starts to fit.
Yeah.
Abby.
I am a really powerful woman, and I fucking love that about myself. Yeah. Thank you. A woman.
Lush.
Lush.
So
but women find that so hard.
Say again?
Women find that so hard, right, Geeta? To actually you can say it, but to feel it, like what you're saying, to feel that.
Well, this is why Faye said it's a compliment, because power is considered a masculine preserve of corruption and politicians and all that stuff. And actually, femininity is the greatest power of creation in the world today. The greatest. The earth is feminine. We are power. And I intend to reclaim the sense of what that power is by being a kind, compassionate, ass-kicking, lush female. I think we should all do that. Yeah. In fact, that's our banner, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I love that so much. I'm a really powerful woman, and I love that about myself.
And so I have said that in some very scary places. I have said that places where I couldn't breathe. I've said it to all male audiences. I have said it in some truly frightening places. And now it's just kind of like
honestly, Geeta, epic. Like, you have dropped so many bombs here. Me and Faye have gone into absolute.
I normally interrupt because I'm struggling to ask questions, but mind blown. Geeta, you've got to be one of the best guests we've ever had on, and I'm not diminishing any other guests, I think for me, the whole premise of Project Woman TV is opening up my brain, letting me think about things, letting me question things. And you've done that for me today. And I feel good. I feel good.
For me, Geeta, you know, there's been a lot of perspective in regards to directing conversation, and that's what I'm all about. I love conversation. I love communication. I love sharing it. Don't hold back. When you believe in what you believe in and you hold that dear, you've just got to let that go. And like we said, you're not going to please anyone all of the time, but then that comes into that fight of being the good girl, isn't it? And wanting to mop up.
Right? Because your opinion of me is really none of my business.
Yeah.
It honestly
but what you feel for yourself is your business.
Yes. And that's honestly it. And I truly believe that, because I was born in a crucible of fire. I had so much pain over this. I had so much anxiety over this. It was just horrendous. I was a really young I just want to say this. I remember when I left the children's father, who unfortunately you're not allowed to kill them when you divorce them, which, you know, he should have. I remember this guy from the BBC rang me and he said, I want you to come on and talk about the fact that this man who's 6'4" hit you. And I said, I can't do that. I can't. I have so much shame and guilt because I feel like it was my fault that I can't do that. And he said, you know what, Geeta, if somebody looks at you and you say these things, they will think it's not their fault. That if it can happen to you, then it's okay that it happened to them. I have never forgotten that. In the last 20 years of being in the public eye, I have never forgotten that. And so I want to hold space for you and every woman listening, that I will hold that space, because I have screwed up more than you have. I have failed more than you have. I have publicly failed more than you have. I have married more idiots than you have. I have made more stupid decisions with those idiots and my money than you ever have. And I'm going to hold that space, because you cannot, I honestly tell you, you will have to work very hard to have screwed up more than me. And I sit here in front of you today as this believer in my power and my strength and your power and your strength. And I will hold that image of you till the whole fucking world is following it and believing in it, because that's what I think my job is.
Geeta, what a way to draw this to a close. What a conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go and get in a cold shower after this, I think, and just rinse it all off.
I told you, orgasm, cake, tequila.
Oh, okay. So hang on. Before I get in a cold shower, I'm gonna go masturbate. I'm gonna have a cold shower.
Tastes like okay then.
I'm going straight for the tequila. Sorry, the masturbation.
And then you should all call me and come coach with me, because that's really what we should be doing. 10,000 women is my goal.
Oh my god, Geeta. Like, until the next time, because there will be a next time.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to make sure of that in some form or other. You're a badass. That's what I call people. That's my phrase. I use you're a badass.
Yeah.
Thank you very
much. It's been awesome,
Geeta.
Everyone, if you want to find out more about Geeta, we will put her details in the comments below. Please reach out to any of us. We would love to hear from you. But as always, thank you for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Geeta.